as typical as any do-it-yourself project. Nothing quite works out like it seems. The holding tank that I got that I thought would fit under the frame is supposed to go like this with the 4-inch drain at the bottom. Didn't fit under the frame like that, but I found it would fit upside down. Voila. So what I'm working on now is trying to reconfigure it to where I've got my 1.5-inch drain pipe coming from the sink, 1.5-inch vent. The 4-inch plug, I cut a piece of plexiglass and kind of welded it in with my heat gun. And I've put a new 2-inch drain in it. What was the top of the tank will now be the bottom of the tank, and that's where the drain will fit. I've used a heat gun to kind of weld ABS around all the seams, and after I get done with that, I'm going to go ahead and do some fiberglassing just to make sure that it's sealed and solid, including this piece here, to make sure everything's sealed up. Anyway, it goes on. Okay, now I'm just finishing the installation of the holding tank. I've got an 8-gallon black holding tank ABS that I had to modify, mount upside down. I put a 2-inch outlet instead of the original 3-inch that was on it. We're just going to use this for the sink, so the 2-inch should be fine. I did a dry test on the ABS fittings to the outlet to the gate valve, and what I did is put some blue tape on the joints just so I can basically line them up for how the dry fit went. Sometimes it's really hard to keep track of exactly how your joints are positioned if you don't have some kind of layout or marking. So anyway, I'm getting this continued on. I'll show you the rest of the holding tank, the drain layout here in just a bit. Okay, I'm done installing the holding tank, finally. The 2-inch pipe coming from the bottom, all refabricated, coming from the bottom of the holding tank. It goes into a 2 to 3-inch fitting. I actually did a kind of a Y fitting that's got a 3-inch clean out. I only did that because it's the only fitting I could find at Lowe's, but it works. I've got a clean out attached to one side, and then the other side is attached to the 3-inch gate valve. Oh yeah, I ran the sink to test it. It held. All right. There is the drain. I went ahead and installed a trap in this compartment that comes from the kitchen sink. There wasn't room underneath the sink for a trap. I just had enough room for a 90-degree fitting. So anyway, it comes out of the sink case into this compartment and then goes through and into the holding tank itself. The other end of the holding tank is vented out the other side. So anyway, we're making progress. We're planning on taking it camping later today. We're going back to Truman Lake. We'll see how everything works out. Back to our ambulance to RV conversion. This was a tall cabinet that was accessible only from the outside. I've cut an access door to the inside now. I'm going to do like a piano hinge or something like that on it to make room for our porta-potti. We considered doing a plumbed toilet, but my wife really likes the porta-potti. It's going to be a whole lot simpler. So this panel is now cut out. We'll eventually use that as a door. This is the little space we're going to use to put the porta-potti in. That outside door closes to give you privacy. The black pipe you see there has nothing to do with the toilet. It's actually just the vent from the holding tank I put in for the sink. It's going to run all the way up and through the ceiling. I'm in the process of putting in a floor in that because that space, as you can see, is quite a bit lower than the floor space in here. So I'm going to put a floor in there level with the floor inside and to kind of take it from there. Now what I'm doing is attaching these cross pieces of plywood onto the sidewalls to support the floor. I'm going to put the floor that's going to be level with this. That'll pretty much make it level with the inside of the camper itself. I'm just using 3/4 inch plywood strips. The sidewalls are made of the 1/8 inch thick aluminum diamond plate covered in carpeting. I've stripped out the carpeting in a couple spots so I can really get these secure to the aluminum itself. And what I'm doing is just I drilled some holes and I've tapped it out for number 8 32 thread screws. I got 1.25 inches long enough to go through the plywood and pretty well secure into the aluminum. And it seems to be working really well. I've got the left side attached already. I'm just now finishing attaching the right side. And you can see it really pulls in pretty well. Like it's going to be pretty secure. Okay, now by the time I get some cross pieces installed here as well, and with that lip there, it'll pretty well support the floor for our porta-potty. After all that's installed, we'll still have, at least from the outside, we'll have, I don't know what it is, that 9 inches of access to storage, that lower storage area. Like I say, ignore the black pipe. That has nothing to do with the toilet. It is going to be a porta-potty. This will be the vent for the holding tank I've got installed. Underneath the holding tank is just great. It's going to be gray water from the sink itself, which is over there. The holding tank's all installed. Everything seems to be working fine with that. All right, I've got the porta-potty closet completed. As I was saying before, this tall area here was a compartment, a cabinet that was just accessible through the outside. It had vertical dividers for life boards, things like that. So I cut the access door on this side, installed 1-inch aluminum channel, 1/16 inch thick, and trimmed everything out. It seemed to work out really well. Installed the cabinet hatch on one side. It's got the piano hinge, go around the full length of the door on the other side. And it's just enough room for the porta-potty. As I said before, I had to build a floor in this space to make it level with the inside of the cabin. I was able to salvage a piece of 1/8 inch thick aluminum sheeting from the panels that were vertical in here. They were too covered with carpeting. The whole compartment was covered with carpeting with a spray-on adhesive. In the process of trying to get all that cleaned off, I've got it cleaned off on the inside of the door with acetone. It worked out pretty well. It works well. There's just enough room there for my wife to get her butt in and hopefully out. I'll show you what this compartment looks like from the outside. And the thing I liked about that divider panel, it had this rolled edge, which is good for this side, so that way you can get that storage below without scratching or cutting yourself. There's the hole for the vent. As I said, that's just going to be for the vent for the holding tank. It's going to eventually run all the way up and through the ceiling. Anyway, we're taking this puppy camping today out of Truman Lake again, so we'll see how everything works.